Peace and greetings to you. This is Amuna Yisrael, affectionately known as the First Lady of Debate Talk for you. I have enjoyed coming to you week after week, season after season, growing together, speaking about the difficult topics, investing the energy, time, and effort with our brothers and sisters on the panel. Today, I would like to come to you with an opportunity for you to invest in something that I've been working on and that's near and dear to me. It's called the Yummy Cottage. You can learn more about it at www.gofundme.com/the Yummy Cottage. We're currently fundraising so that we can get it off the ground, and your help would be appreciated. Once again, www.gofundme.com/the Yummy Cottage. Check the link in the box and hope to hear from you soon.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Yes, today's show is entitled, When Does the Day Begin? 3 Days and 3 Nights, Chronology, Resurrection. Once again, today's show is entitled, When Does the Day Begin? 3 Days and 3 Nights, Chronology, Resurrection. My special guest is Ahmayan, who's going to present this lesson to you right here on Debate Talk Free Radio. Again, we have a lot of listeners on the phone and via Skype. If you have any questions later on, simply press number 1. I will add you in the conversation. We welcome questions from the masses out there, to be edified and to learn. So once again, once you dial that number, you press number 1, and we'll add you in the conversation. All right, so without further ado, let's introduce my special guest, Ahmayan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, shalom, Sal, and shalom to all listening audience out there.
All right, man. So what's going on with you, brother?
None much, man. Just kind of tripping over the comments that I got on my last debate this Friday. Just tripping over these guys are saying that how Davon Mays won when clearly he lost. He admitted that Christ was the Messiah. So I don't know how they're saying that how he won. So just a trip that these brothers can't tell the truth. Be honest. That's about it.
All right, I hear that. I hear you, brother. And for those who missed that debate, you just go to the archives on YouTube, type in Debate Talk Free Radio, and let them know what the topic was, brother. Let them know how you felt about that debate, if you want to.
To me, wasn't a real, big topic. It was a Davon Mays' idea to do that particular heading for the debate. I think I clearly, proved my point. And clearly he didn't. It's shocking that the brothers that Tanakh only just can't be honest to say that the brother was actually bringing information, not proving his point. Not one time did he show that Hamashiach was not anointed. He was just more so attacking. He didn't fulfill this. He didn't fulfill that. But the debate was he a Messiah, an anointed one? And when he admitted it, that's when he lost. And then these guys in the comment section are saying that he won it. He did a good job. And they have the same old rhetoric about we worshiping an idol. We got an idol in our head and over again. Just basically just saying stuff without no proof or foundation. So I really want to speak to a Tanakh owner brother that can be really honest. You know what I'm saying? And stop just out there breaking the Torah and bearing false witness, and just be honest that if your guy lost, just say, hey man, he lost that round, he lost that one. Just be honest. We can probably talk and try to come together and bridge the gap if they can be honest for once. That's about it.
All right, and for those of you that missed the debate, you can just go to www.blogtalkradio.com/debate talk for you, or go to the YouTube page, type in the search box Debate Talk for you, and the debate was entitled, Was Jesus the Messiah according to the Tanakh or New Testament? Go check it out. Go show your support. Give us your like, subscribe. We appreciate you. All right, family, so without further ado, let's just take it away. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Sal. Before I begin, I got to give all praises, and I do mean all praises, to the Creator of all things, the Holy One of Israel, Yahweh, his name in the Hebrew, which means I am, he is, or causes to be, his first begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, Christ Jesus in the English, which means anointed Savior, and to all of the righteous angels that's guiding us and protecting us as we continue to do the Most High and Christ's work. And as our brother Jude puts it in his letter, for us to contend for the faith once delivered to the saints. Okay, the first part of this lesson I want to deal with is, when does a day, a 24-hour period, begin? Reason being is that you have certain brothers out there, Tanakh only, who teach that a day begins when the sun comes up, which is incorrect according to the Tanakh. And I want to read why is it important. Why is it so important that we understand when a day begins? Is it a big deal or is it a small deal? I want to go to the book of Exodus chapter 31, and I want to start at verse 13. Exodus verse 31 and I'm starting at verse 12. It says, "And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doth sanctify you." So it is pertinent for us to understand when the day begins, because the Sabbath is an important day. It's a sign, as the Most High said. It's a mark, or it's an evidence between you and the Most High. So it marks you that you belongs to Him. It is pertinent that you understand when a day begins, so you can be keeping the Sabbath accurately. Otherwise, you won't be getting the mark or the evidence that you belong to the Most High. This day marks you once you're keeping it. It sanctifies you, as it says, that the Lord doth sanctify you, means set you apart. It makes you holy. Fulfilling this day sets you apart as something different or holy in the eyes of the Most High. Verse 14, "Ye shall keep my Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defile it shall surely be put to death." So it's another reason why you must keep it, because if you can keep it, we know we're in captivity. We know we must work and do certain things in captivity, but if you're not working, and if you can't keep it, and you know you must keep it, you're supposed to be keeping it, because if not, you're in danger of judgment. It goes on to say, "For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people." Verse 15, "6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Shabbat of rest, holy to the Most High, to Yahweh. Whosoever doth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death." So it's clear here that we must be keeping the Shabbat. And by keeping the Shabbat, you must understand when the Shabbat start. Verse 16, "Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Shabbat throughout their generation for a perpetual covenant." Perpetual meaning forever. Is everlasting covenant. So keeping the Shabbat is also a contract that has to be kept with the Most High. Verse 17, "It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever," it says. And once again, it's a mark of evidence between you and the Most High that you belong to Him. He's putting a mark on you. And this goes back to Ezekiel, I think it's Ezekiel 25, when it said, put a mark on all the people that sigh and cry. So once again, this is the mark that is placed upon you by keeping the Shabbat. It says, "For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day He's rested and was refreshed." So this is the importance of you finding out when the day begins, so you can accurately keep the Shabbat, so you can be marked by the Most High, set apart. From there, I want to go into it now. Genesis chapter 1, and I want to start at verse 1. Now, I want to say this. I'm not going to go off into it, but I just want to say this briefly, that Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 in the English is not what it says in the original Hebrew. I just want to be clear. This is not what it says in the original Hebrew, okay? And if I have time, most I will in the future, I want to go off into it and bring out what it actually says in the Hebrew in the future. But for now, I'm going to read it in this English here, which is an incorrect translation from the original Hebrew, a word-for-word translation. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Verse 2. "And the earth was void And the earth was void without form, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, so now we have that. Now let me back up to verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness. Now we understand that the Most High called the darkness night. So here it would say, and night was upon the face of the deep, because he called the darkness night. So we have night first. Then we go down and it says, and the Spirit of the Most High moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. Then come the light afterwards. He goes on to say, and there was light, and the Most High saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, which he called night, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So I'm establishing that we have night first, even from the beginning, and then he said, let there be light, and light came second. So you have night, then you have day. Okay, so now we're having a 24-hour period there. From there, I want to jump down to verse 14. And God said, let there be lights, more than one, in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs, and for season, and for days, and for years. So together, when he says let them, talking about the sun and the moon, them together, they can be for signs, which is things to come, and for seasons, which is Moed or Moedim, which is the appointed times, and for days, meaning now you can use these two to calculate when a day begins. So we understand that the night was first, and then the day came second. Okay, he says, and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And the Most High made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So we understand that the lesser light, the moon, rules the night, and the greater light, the sun, rules the day. This is important to remember. Okay? I'm about to bring that up right now. From there, I just want to establish that fact. I want to come to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 1. 1 Samuel chapter 20. 1 Samuel, the 20th chapter, and I want to start at verse 24, down to verse 27. 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 24. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon, or the renewed moon, this is a renewed moon. It is not a brand new moon. It's the same moon the Most High made in Genesis chapter 1 that I just read. So it's not a brand new moon. The Most High isn't putting a brand new moon up there every month. So it's a renewed moon. So what about the moon that's being renewed? It's the light on the moon. It goes through a 29, 30-day cycle. And it starts with the first sliver. That is the new moon, or the renewed moon more accurately. So it's the light on the moon that's going through a cycle. That's why, and the light renews itself. That's why it's called a renewed moon. It's not a brand new moon up there. So David hid himself in the field, and when the renewed moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. So the renewed moon is talking about bringing in the calendar. So it's a new month. The same word for moon is the same word for month in the Hebrew. So it's talking about the beginning of a new month. So every day in a calendar month is 24 hours. So here we understand that the beginning of the month, which begins a day, starts with the new moon, the sighting of the moon. And in Genesis chapter 1, as we just read, it says that the lesser light to rule the night, which is the moon. So it is the moon, that nighttime, that ushers in the first day of the month. So every day in the month from that point would have to start when the moon is up. Okay, that is simple to understand. This is a calendar day, a calendar month. Every day have to start when the first day of the month starts, and the month starts with the moon, which rules the night. It is impossible for a day, a 24-hour period, to start when the sun is up because it do not ushers in the beginning of the month. It would have to usher in the beginning of the month for it to be the beginning of a day, a 24-hour period. Verse 25, and the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon the seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day. That's the first day of the month. For he thought something had befallen him. David, he is not clean. Surely he is not clean. Verse 27, and it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, showing you that the renewed moon is the first day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said to Jonathan, his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday, which is the first day of the month, nor today. So from here, it's clear that the day begins when the moon is up and the moon comes out at night because it rules the night according to the Most High. So that in itself proves that a day have to start at nighttime. But I'm going to give more evidence. Show you that this Tanakh is consistent when it's telling you that the day begins at night. I want to come to the book of Leviticus chapter 23, and I want to get verse 32. Leviticus 23, verse 32 reads, and it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, speaking of the day of atonement, a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. Okay, so now we got to find out what is even. Okay, we jump back a chapter to Leviticus 22, verse 6. It says, the soul which have touched any such shall be unclean. So if anyone touch anything that is unclean, or if he have any uncleanness of his own self, he's going to be unclean, it says, until even, and shall not eat of the holy things unless he wash his flesh in water. Okay, so he's unclean until the even. What is the even? And when the sun is down, he shall be clean. So clearly here we understand that even is speaking of sundown. So when we come back here to Leviticus 23, verse 32, and this shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, at sundown. So from sundown unto sundown shall ye celebrate your Shabbat. This is consistent again with what I just read in 1 Samuel chapter 20. Again, there it says the day begins, or the month begins, when the moon is up, when the moon ushers in the first sliver of the moon, ushers in the beginning of the month, which ushers in the beginning of a day, and the moon comes out at night, sundown. Even here again, it's sundown also again. Okay? From there, let me get another witness. I want to go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16. Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. And I want to start at verse 5. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 5. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which Yahweh thy God giveth thee, but at the place which Yahweh thy power shall choose to place his name in. There thou shalt sacrifice the Passover. It says at even. When is even? At the going down of the sun, it says here. At the season, at the appointed time, that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And Israel came out of Egypt at night. I'm going to jump up to verse 1. It's going to tell you the same thing. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. It says, observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahweh thy power. For in the month of Abib the Lord thy power brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Again, showing you again, we came out at nighttime. We came out on the 15th day of the first month on the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We prepared it on the 14th day. We killed it at 3 p.m., and then we began to eat it with our garments on and our boots on, and we began to exit out of Egypt on the 15th day at night. From there, I want to go ahead and read this so we can understand, because we got to understand when we're reading the word even. Even has three meanings to it. Exodus chapter 12, I want to get right to the point, verse 6. And it reads, And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it, talking about the lamb. It says in the evening, and in the evening here is between the two evenings in the Hebrew. That's what that means. So when you see the word evening, you got to establish what evening is it talking about. Is it between the two evenings, which would be 3 p.m.? And I know this because Christ is our lamb, and the lamb here, it says, supposed to be killed between the two evenings. When we come to the Renewed Testament in the book of Mark, it tells us when Christ actually died, and he died at 3 p.m., telling us that between the two evenings is 3 p.m. Okay, so now what would be the first, if between the two evenings it's 3 p.m., what would be the first evening? It would logically be right afternoon. 12:01 would be your first evening. Your second evening would actually be sundown. That's why we get there in Leviticus 23:32 from even, sundown, to sundown. So when you see the word even, the context tell you the definition of the word. And if you see between the two evenings there in the Hebrew, then that's when you know it's talking about 3 p.m. That would be in the Tanakh or in the Renewed Testament. I want to come to the Renewed Testament and show you that there are two evenings recorded in the Renewed Testament, that it is consistent with the Old Testament. I want to come to the book of Matthew chapter 14, and I want to start at verse 14. So the Tanakh talks about between the two evenings. He's saying that there's two evenings in the day, in the latter part of the day, from 12 noon, 12:01, with the first one, and then the other one would be going towards sundown, or you say 6 p.m. Okay, here in the book of Matthew chapter 14, verse 14. And Yahushua went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was even, this would be the first even, this would be right afternoon, 12:01, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals. So he's telling them, okay, it's like right after midday. This is a desert place. Send them to go get something to eat. Verse 16. But Yahushua said unto them, They need not depart. Give ye them to eat. And they said unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did eat, and they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full, and they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. So that's how many people he fed. So that started around 12:01. He started to feed them. We come down now to verse 22. So he fed 5,000 people beside women and children. So you probably get maybe about 10,000 people there in all that he fed. Verse 22. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the even was come, this is the second even again here, another even. This would be going towards 6 p.m., going towards sundown. He was alone. So we have a 6 hours there gap for all these events to take place, and we have enough time for all these things to take place for him to actually feed about 10,000 people, for them to actually pass the food out, for them to eat it, him to send them away, and then go up to a mountain for him to pray alone. So we see here clearly that there's 2 evenings here, and both of them happen in the same day, the day portion of a 24-hour period, just as the Tanakh states that there are 2 evenings, it says, between the 2 evenings. So it's clearly from the Tanakh, a day have to begin at night, at sundown. I want to read one more place in the Tanakh, in the book of Deuteronomy. There's many more I can read, but I don't think there's no one that can come and say anything different than what the Tanakh is saying when a day begins. Okay? If someone can, I would love to hear from you. Deuteronomy chapter 24, and I want to read at verse 14. Deuteronomy 24, verse 14 and verse 15. It says, Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At his day, talking about payday, at his day, his payday, thou shalt give him his hire. Okay? Pay him. Neither shall the sun go down, it says, upon it. So you're supposed to pay him on his day. At his day. The day that you agreed upon to pay this man, you're supposed to pay him for his hire in that day. And it specifically states, neither shall the sun go down. Because if the sun go down, it's another day. You won't be paying him at his day. You're now falling into another day. You're now violating the agreement to pay him on a certain day because the sun have went down, ending that previous day and starting another day. So again, it says, At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and set up his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto Yahweh, and it be sin unto thee. So here again, all over the Tanakh, it's clear that a day begins when the sun is down. Okay? And I'm going to leave it there. So we have clearly that the day begins when the sun is down. I want that to be an end-all to this situation here where brothers are teaching that the day begins when the sun comes up. That is against the Tanakh. It does not teach that. There's not one scripture in the whole Tanakh that says the day begins when the sun comes up. Okay? From there, I want to go to the next part of my teaching, which is going to be 3 days and 3 nights. And I hope this will be also an end-all teaching because some are saying that Hamashiach Yahushai died on a Thursday. Others say he died on a Friday. All these things are incorrect. And I'm going to prove these things incorrect now with scriptures. And prove also that it is impossible for him to have died on a Thursday or, even worse, on a Friday. Okay? I want to go to the book of Matthew chapter 12, and I want to start at verse 38. So in the book of Matthew chapter 12, verse 38. Then certain of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign of thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Okay, so a complete 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights. Okay, so we have that clear. And if it's not clear, let me go to the book of St. John, chapter 11. And I want to read verse 9. St. John's chapter 11, verse 9. Yahweh Shai himself going to tell you. It reads, Yahweh Shai answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? It's clear. He's talking about the day portion of a 24-hour day. 12 hours. So in a calendar day, there are two 12-hour periods. 12 hours of darkness, called night, and 12 hours of daylight, called day. Okay? So when he said 3 days and 3 nights, he's talking about 36 hours of day and 36 hours of night, giving you a complete 72 hours. He said, I will be in the heart of the earth for 72 hours. That's what he's saying. Now let me establish when he actually died, so we can start our account accurately. If we're going to deal within hours, we got to find out when he died, because the gospel authors tell us exactly what hour of the day he died. So you can start your count, because he gave us a chronology based on hours, 72. So now Mark's going to give us a time of death, so we can start our account. Mark chapter 15, Mark the 15th chapter. I want to show you that he's detailing the time of day for you can get a count. Mark chapter 15, verse 1. It says, and straightway in the morning, this would be 6 a.m., the chief priests had a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and bound Yahushua and carried him away. So that was done at 6 a.m. in the morning. Okay, when we jump down now to verse 25, it says, and it was the third hour, and they crucified him. Okay, the third hour would be 9 a.m. That's 3 hours away from 6 a.m. So 9 a.m. is when he was actually nailed to the cross. Third hour, and they crucified him. So we have that. Mark is detailing the time when these things are taking place. Okay, from there, I want to jump down to verse 33. It says, and when the 6th hour, which will be noon, that's 6 hours from 6 a.m., the sunrise, and when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And the 9th hour would be 3 p.m. Just the 9th hour, 9 hours away from 6 a.m. And at the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of them that stood by when they heard it said, behold, he calleth Elias or Elijah. And one ran and filled a sponge full of vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink, saying, let alone, let us see whether Elias will come and take him down. And Yahushua cried with a loud voice and gave up the ghost. So then he died. It says, and the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. Now, we have a time of death here of 3 p.m. That's when he died. Okay? And then it says the veil of the temple was rent in twain. Now, the reason why it says that is that we know that the high priest, once a year on the Day of Atonement, will go into the most holy place, and he would make an atonement for who? The whole nation of Israel. Once a year he would do this. So when Yahushua died, and it says the veil of the temple was rent in twain, it's letting us know that atonement is being made for the whole nation. That's why it says the veil was rent in twain. He's showing you that atonement was being made for the whole nation. That's why it says that there. Okay, so now we have a time of death of 3 p.m. Okay, I'm going to continue to read down. Verse 39, it says, and when the centurion which stood over against him saw that he cried out and gave up the ghost, he said, truly, this man was the Son of the Most High. there were also women looking on afar off, among whom was Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James the Less, and of Joseph and Salome, who also, when he was in Galilee, followed him and ministered unto him, and many other women which came up with him unto Jerusalem. Verse 42. It says, and now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, which was the 14th, that is the day before the Shabbat, the high Sabbath. Now here it says, and when the even, now you have to establish, what even is this talking about? Is he talking about right after 12 noon? That can't be right, because we understand what? We understand that Yahushua just died at 3 p.m. So it can't be after 12 noon. That would eliminate that interpretation of it. Okay, so now when the evening was come, now this can't be talking about sundown, because sundown will end the 14th and begin the 15th. It will actually be the high Sabbath, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The only one that's left is between the two evenings. Between the two evenings is smack dead 3 p.m. So it's still talking about in the hour when Yahushua died at 3 p.m. So Joseph being there, seeing him die at 3 p.m., and when even was come, he says, because it was preparation, that is the day before the Shabbat, Joseph of Arimathea, an honorable counselor, which also waited for the kingdom of the Most High, came and went in boldly unto Pilate and craved the body of Yahushua. So when he's there, he sees him die, he immediately goes to Pilate and asks for the body. Right between the two evenings at 3 p.m., he sees this, he goes immediately. He did not wait until the sun went down to go and ask for the body. He'd be sitting there 3 hours to go ask for the body. Wouldn't make any sense. He was right there when he died and saw him die, gave the ghost up. Immediately he goes and asks for the body of Yahushua at 3 p.m. Okay, continuing. And Pilate marveled if he were already dead, because usually these men be on this cross for like a week. So Christ was nailed on there at 9 a.m., and 3 p.m., 6 hours later, he was dead. It said, and calling unto him the centurion, he asked him whether he had been any while dead. So Pilate wanted to know, was he dead long? Again, usually they'd be on there for a week. Verse 45, and when he knew it of the centurion, he gave the body to Joseph. It says, and he brought fine linen and took him down and wrapped him in linen and laid him in a sepulchre which was hewed out of rock, and rolled a stone unto the door of the sepulchre. And Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, beheld where he was laid. So they saw when he was laid. Okay, so they followed on when Joseph took him down and wrapped him up and laid him in the tomb. So that whole process of Joseph asking for the body at around 3 p.m., he got the body probably like around 4. Because we read in the book of St. John's where the centurion came in and broke the leg of the other two that was there. And when he came to Christ, he didn't break his leg. He cut his side open, and it says blood and water came out. So he didn't break Yahushua's legs. So then he knew that he was dead. He goes back to Pilate and tells him, yes, he's dead. Pilate tells Joseph, you can have the body. He go get the body with his servants, takes him down, wrap him in linen, put him in the tomb. It was a garden tomb that was close to where he died at. I'm going to read it. So Mary Magdalene and these other women here, they saw where he was laid. Okay? I want to read in the book of Luke, because Luke gives us some additional information here that Mark don't give us. That's why you have to read all of the gospel to get the picture of the ministry of Hamashiach Yahushua. You cannot understand the full picture if you don't read all 4 gospels. You would miss it. Okay? I want to go to the book of Luke chapter 23, and I want to start at verse 54. It says, and that day was the preparation day, and the Sabbath drew on, meaning that the Sabbath was approaching. You can look at this Greek word there. It will tell you that it's talking about the Shabbat approaching. The Shabbat has not came yet, talking about the high Sabbath didn't come yet. It means that it was approaching, verse 55. And the women also which came with him from Galilee followed after. So they following Joseph when he's taking the body to the sepulchre. And beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. They looked and they saw, wait a minute, he is laying his body down and they don't have the burial spices. They saw how his body was laid, that it was missing the burial spices. Right? Verse 56, it says, and they returned and prepared spices and ointments. It says, and rested the Sabbath according to the commandment. According to the commandment, we'll take you back to the seventh day Shabbat. The commandment that's found, the weekly Sabbath is found in the Ten Commandments. This is referencing the weekly Sabbath, not the high Sabbath. It's referencing the weekly Sabbath. Okay? So these women went and prepared spices. So now the question becomes, when did these women actually get these spices? But before I even get to that, I've got to read here in the book of St. John's chapter 19, what happened, because the women missed the situation here, the reason why they went and they bought these spices. So now Joseph gets the body again, like about 4. He gets it into the tomb by about 4:30. The women see how he's laid. He's laid without the spices. They leave immediately. Right behind the woman about to read it comes Nicodemus with the burial spices. He comes probably maybe around 4:45. They just missed him. The woman just missed him. Well, he just missed the women. He comes around 4:45 with the burial spices. He go ahead and put the burial spices on Yahweh Shai, and he's done probably about, because it don't take long. He probably finished about 5. Latest 5:15, 5:30, he's gone, because he must go back and purify himself and be ready for the Shabbat, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So St. John chapter 19, starting at verse 38, it said, and after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Yahweh Shai, but secretly for fear of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Yahweh Shai. And Pilate gave him leave. He came therefore and took the body of Yahweh Shai. And we know what he did with it. It says, and there came also Nicodemus, which at the first came to Yahweh Shai by night. It says, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100-pound weight. So here come Nicodemus with his servants, and they coming, bringing the burial spices, but the women missed him. The women didn't see him. They left, and he came afterwards. Verse 40, then took they the body of Yahweh Shai and wounded, meaning they wrapped it up. They took the clothes, took the wrapping that Joseph had on it off, put the burial spices on it, and re-wrapped him up again, and wounded in the linen cloth with the spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now, in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never man yet laid. So this was a brand new tomb. No man ever been in there, and it was close to where Yahweh Shai was crucified, a garden area. Okay, verse 42. There laid there Yahweh Shai, therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. So he was close to where he was crucified, where he died. Okay, so the women missed this. So this is the reason why the women went and bought spices, because they didn't see Joseph put the burial spices on Yahweh Shai, so they leave, but not knowing that Nicodemus came behind him and put the burial spices, showing you that Joseph and Nicodemus already had the plan put together to bury Christ in that manner, because Christ was saying for a week before that he was going to die, and Joseph was Christ's disciples in secret. So Christ told him and Nicodemus what to do when he dies, to come get his body and bury him in a certain manner here. We see them here executing it to perfection. The women just missed the last part of it when Nicodemus came and put the burial spices on him. So they're going to go buy spices. So now I want to read in the book of Mark where the woman went and actually bought spices. And I'm going to come back to that. I just want to establish here that the woman bought spices. That's all I want to show. Mark chapter 16, verse 1 and 2. And when the Shabbat was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Salome had bought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. Okay, so they bought spices. So now, if he's in the tomb and it's around 4:30 going on 5, the women don't have time that day to go and buy no spices because it's almost the Shabbat. It's almost the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's getting dark. These stores are going to be closed. So they don't have time to go buy no spices that day. So that rules out that day. So then the next day was a high Sabbath, which was Thursday. That was a high Sabbath. So they couldn't buy nothing that day neither. That was Thursday. The only open day they had open was Friday. Friday is a half day. You can go ahead and buy spices on Friday morning. They bought the spices Friday morning, prepared it, and as it says, they rested according to the commandment, the weekly Sabbath. When the sun went down Friday, they rested according to the commandment. Okay, then you would have Saturday morning, which is a weekly Sabbath. Again, they couldn't buy nothing then. They couldn't do nothing then at all. And then you would have the first day of the week. And it says that they came to the sepulchre with the spices the first day of the week, bringing the spices which they had bought. The only time that they have to buy spices could have been Friday morning. There was no other time frame open that they could have bought spices and prepared them. Only Friday morning. Okay? So now if we deal with the hours, 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights, according to the scriptures, Christ was in the tomb by 4:30, let's say 5 o'clock. Let's say 5 o'clock he was in there with the burial spices and whatnot. So we have 5 p.m. Wednesday to 5 p.m. Thursday is one complete 24-hour day. From 5 p.m. Friday to 5 p.m. Thursday, to 5 p.m. Friday is the second day. And then we have 5 p.m. Friday to 5 p.m. Saturday is a complete 3 days and 3 nights. He rose up on the Shabbat around 5 p.m. That's when he got up. And that falls in line. So we have all the events in the scriptures fulfilled with the events and with the hours, as Christ said, 72 hours, if he dies on a Wednesday death. Now let's try this on a Thursday death. Let's say he dies Thursday, as some say. So we have Thursday, 5 p.m. Thursday, 5 p.m., the next day would be a high Sabbath. That's Friday. The woman couldn't buy nothing on that Friday because it's a high Sabbath, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They couldn't buy nothing then. Right after that, you would have what? That's the weekly Sabbath. You have a back-to-back Sabbath here. A high Sabbath and a weekly Sabbath. They still couldn't buy nothing on Saturday again. So then they come early in the morning, it says, bringing the spices what they had bought. They couldn't have bought the spices Sunday morning. The stores were not even open yet. They come into the sepulchre when the sun is just coming up. Stores ain't even really open yet. So that time frame there don't have no time in there to fit when the woman bought these spices. So he couldn't have died on a Thursday. It doesn't fit. And if we try doing the hours don't fit neither. We have 5 p.m. Thursday to 5 p.m. Friday is one day, 5 p.m. Friday to 5 p.m. Saturday is 2 days, 5 p.m. Saturday, it will be 5 p.m. Sunday when he rose up, which we know isn't the truth because the woman came to sepulchre on Sunday morning and he was gone already. So that doesn't fit. And if we try to do Friday going to be even worse because then you would have a double Sabbath. If he dies on a Friday, then the next day, Saturday, would be a high Sabbath and a weekly Sabbath. It'd be a double Sabbath. The woman couldn't buy nothing at all again. There is no time frame there put in for the women to buy spices. It doesn't fit. The only day that fits is Wednesday, according to all the events that's here. It is the only day that fits. I want to come back here to the book of Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27. I want to start at verse 61. Just to link this up. So we're in the book of Matthew chapter 27, verse 61. And there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. So they saw where Christ was laid down. It says, now the next day, which would be Thursday, that followeth the day of preparation. The preparation day is the 14th. That's Wednesday. The day following would be the 15th, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay? It says, the chief priests and the Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. See, they even remember what Yahushua said. Verse 64, command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until the third day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, he is risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first. Pilate said unto them, ye have a watch. Go your way, make it as sure as ye can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. So now when Joseph put Yahushua's body in the tomb, he just rolled a stone over it. So when Nicodemus came, he came and just rolled the stone away, went in there and did his thing. But this watch here with the Pharisees, it said that they went and they sealed it. They put a nail into the rock and they sealed it. There are pictures online of this. This actually happened. There is proof of this online. Anybody can go Google this. The picture's there. That this seal that they put in there was there. They had sealed it with this metal so it wouldn't roll away. When they sealed it, a human being could not roll the stone away because they sealed it and they had a watch outside. This is important to understand to my next part of this teaching that I have going here. Okay, so it's clear what I brought out just now. Yahushua had to have died on a Wednesday. No other day fits the events and the hours in the scriptures. Okay? The last part I want to bring out now is going to be the chronology of the resurrection. This is going to be very tricky here. It took me a long time to really put this together. The chronology of the resurrection of Hamashiach Yahushua. Okay, now, the first thing that happens in the chronology of Hamashiach Yahushua is in Matthew chapter 28 and verse 2. It says, and behold, there was a great earthquake. There is a reason for this earthquake. There was an earthquake when Yahushua died. There was a reason for that. And there's also a reason why there is another earthquake. And behold, there was an earthquake, and the angel of Yahweh descended from heaven. So here we see the Most High name is in this book. It's capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. This is the Most High name. His name is in the Renewed Testament. And the angel of Yahweh descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. Again, when they sealed it, a human being wasn't strong enough to go ahead and break the seal and roll the stone away. It took the angel of the Most High to come down, and he was strong enough to go ahead and break the seal. Again, you can go look at the picture. The picture shows you clearly that the seal that the Romans put on that door, that a human being could not have moved it. It had to be some supernatural strength to be able to break that seal for him to roll that stone away. And we see here clearly in the Gospels that exactly what happened. An angel of the Most High descended, and he rolled the stone away because he has supernatural powers, supernatural strength. And he broke the seal. The pictures online will show you how it was broken. It was broken by force by someone rolling that stone and snapping it. That's what happened. Continuing, it says, his countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him, the keepers did shake. and became as dead men. So when they saw the angel come and do this, these dudes were shaking in their boots and they froze up. And after they froze up, seeing the angel sat on the stone and he didn't move, then these men ran to the Pharisees and them and told them. I'm going to quickly read what they said to the Pharisees real quick and then get back to the chronology real quick. Jumping down here to verse 11. Said, now when they were going, behold, some of the watch came into the city and showed unto the chief priests and all the things that were done. So they told them that the angel came down and broke the seal. Verse 12. And when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers, saying, say ye, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. Now we know that right there is a death penalty to Romans who are on watch. If you are a Roman guard on watch and your guard, whoever you're watching, if they escape, you'll be put to death immediately. Let me just prove that, because I like making statements without proving it. I want to go into the book of Acts and I'm going to show you this. This is proof in the book of Acts, and I'm going to come back. Acts chapter 16, verse 25. Get right. Acts chapter 16, start at verse 25. Acts, the 15th chapter, verse 25. And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto Yahweh. And the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were open, and every man's bands were loose. And the keepers of the prison, awaking out of his sleep, and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. See, this man knew that when he saw these doors open and he see no prisoners in there, he was going to kill himself, because he knew that it doesn't matter. He was going to die anyway. It's going to kill him. It's a death sentence once you guard somebody in the Roman times and the people get away. So he was ready to kill himself. Okay, verse 28. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, do thyself no harm, for we are all here. So Paul stopped him, showing you that when you're on guard as a Roman and you say someone got away or someone did something, you was put to death. Okay, so clearly we see this what happened here. Coming back to the book of Matthew chapter 28, verse 14. It says, and if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him and secure you. So they took the money and did as they were taught, and this saying is commonly reported among the Jews unto this day. Okay, so they went ahead and lied and said that the angel didn't come down and broke the seal and rolled the stone away. From there, so now that's the first event that happened. The angel came and rolled the stone away. I want to come to the book of Mark, chapter 16. Starting at verse 9. Mark chapter 16, verse 9. Mark is now going to give us a summary of the events of the resurrection here. He's going to give us a brief summary of it. He won't have every single event in there, but it's giving us a summary that we can use to help track certain events that happen. Mark chapter 16, verse 9. It says, now when Yahushua was risen, it says, early the first day of the week, we know he rose on the Shabbat according to the math, according to the events. Okay, so he didn't rise on the first day of the week. So he was already risen. So now when Yahushua was risen, early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast out 7 devils. So the first person that saw Yahushua was Mary Magdalene by herself. She was the first one to see Yahushua, and she's seen him by himself. The only gospel author that records this is St. John's. And we're going to read it. St. John's chapter 20, starting at verse 1. So the first person that he saw was Mary Magdalene. 1 second here, I'll go back to Mark. I need to finish when I was reading there. Okay, so Mark chapter 16, verse 9 again. And when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and wept. Okay? So that's our first order of event there. St. John's chapter 20, verse 1. It says, the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark. Now this again is showing you when the day begins here again. It says it was the first day of the week, and Mary Magdalene is coming. She says she comes early. It says when it was still dark, showing you that the first day of the week, it's starting at night. Because when she came, it was still dark, and it's calling it the first day of the week. Consistency again from Tanakh to the Renewed Testament, again, that the day begins at night. It couldn't have called it the first day of the week if the sun wasn't up yet, but showing you that it was still dark, well, the sun wasn't up, but it was called the first day of the week. It says, and early. Early, you go to this Greek word, early. This word is P-R-W-I, and it's pronounced proi. Proi is talking about the daybreak watch. There are 4 watches in the Renewed Testament. This is the daybreak watch, which would be the 4th watch. The 4th watch goes from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Again, the 4th watch is 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. This is when Mary Magdalene was coming to the tomb. She came in the 4th watch. That's why it says when it was dark. It was yet dark when she came to the tomb, and she's here coming by herself. As Mark records, Christ seen her first by herself. Excuse me. Continuing to read. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. So you see that the stone was gone because the angel had rolled it away, and the guards, they had left. Okay? Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter, and to the other disciple whom Yahweh loved, and said unto them, they have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. Excuse me. Peter therefore went forth, and that other disciple, and came to the sepulchre. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter, and came first to the sepulchre, and he stooping down, and looking in, saw the linen cloths lying, yet went he not in. And cometh Simon Peter following him, and went into the sepulchre, and seeth the linen cloth lie, and the napkin that was about his head not lying with the linen cloth. All these things have been pointed out for a reason, and I won't go into them now. Continuing, it says, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Then went in also that other disciple, which came first to the sepulchre, and he saw and believed. Verse 9. For as yet they knew not the scripture, that he must rise again from the dead. This goes back to the book of Psalms 16, verse 9 and 10, which talks about someone dying, not seeing corruption, and then rise back again. Clearly. A 3 days resurrection is there. Verse 10, then the disciples went away again unto their own place, unto their own home. So they went back home after that. Okay? Continuing. Verse 11, but Mary stood without at the sepulchre. So Mary had followed them back, and she stand outside the sepulchre. It says, weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and seeth 2 angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yahweh had lain. Verse 13, and they say unto her, woman, why weepest thou? She saith unto him, because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Yahushua standing, and knew not that it was Yahushua. Yahushua said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, said unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Yahushua said unto her, Mary. She turned up herself and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Yahushua said unto her, Touch me not. Okay, so he's telling her, don't touch me, because now Yahushua is in his full order. He's in his full order of Melchizedek. He's in the full priesthood after order of Melchizedek now, and he has to now do his priestly duties. So she cannot touch him yet until he fulfill his priestly duty in the order of Melchizedek according to the temple service in the Torah. At this time, you have to offer the first fruit offering to the Most High. Okay? That's what has to happen. Christ is about to offer the first fruits from the earth to the Most High. Speaking of men, I'm going to read this. That's why he told her, don't touch me. It's significant for the chronology that he tells her here, don't touch me. Again, she comes to the sepulchre by herself. Those other records show that women came more than one. It's 2 here, 3 here, and many over here. But St. John is the only one that records Mary Magdalene coming to the temple by herself, as Mark records it in Mark 16, 9, and 10. Okay? From there, let me go and show you the reason why Yahushua told Mary Magdalene not to touch him. We come to the book of Matthew, chapter 27. I think it's verse 50. Yeah, Matthew chapter 27, verse 50. Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain, from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And the graves were open, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection. So these saints arose, but they rose up after Christ arose, after him, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. These men are the first fruits from the earth, from the children of Israel, that Yahushua is going to present these men to the Most High. That's why he told Mary Magdalene, don't touch me, I have not ascended to my Father yet. There's a reason he has to go to his Father to offer the first fruits from the earth. Okay, talking about these set-apart men, these chosen men, these saints, these set-apart men. So he goes up there and he presents these first fruits, these men, to the Most High. And as I understand it, through the scriptures as well, these men are the 24 elders that he takes up there to the Most High. Okay? I'm going to read it. I don't like to make statements without having scriptural backing for what I am saying. Let me come to the book of Revelations. Let me read it. So we come to the book of Revelation. I want to start at chapter 4. We'll start at verse 1. It says, after this I beheld, It says, after this I looked, and behold, a door was open in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet, talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 4 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Now, once we jump back to chapter 3, verse 5, Christ says this. It says, he that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, as the 24 elders are. Okay? And I will not blot his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. So when he goes up and bring the first fruits, these 24 elders, they are given white raiment because they overcame. Okay? And he confessed their name before the Most High and before the righteous angels in heaven. Coming back to Revelations here. So we see that these men are there. Okay? These 24 elders. I want to jump down to chapter 5. And I want to start at verse 1. Okay, and it says, and I saw in the right hand of him, talking about the Most High, Yahweh, that sat on the throne, a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders, the 24 elders, said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seals, and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne, showing you here proof that Yahweh Shai is not the Most High. He took the book out of the Most High hand. Clearly right here, okay? Verse 8, and when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. They was paying him homage. They wasn't worshiping him. They was paying him homage, okay? Fell before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden veils full of orders, which are the prayers of the saints. You can read more about that in the 8th chapter, verse 3 and verse 4. Okay, verse 9 here. And they, talking about the 24 elders now, sung a new song, because these men was redeemed from the earth. They sung a new song. Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and has redeemed us. Clearly, can't be talking about the angels in the heavens, because Yahweh Shai's death was not redeeming any angels in the heavens. He's talking about redeeming men on the earth, specifically the nation of Israel. These 24 elders are saying, because you has redeemed us. You have been slain and has redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, showing you that you have Israelites scattered in every tongue and every nation on the earth, because we know that through the scriptures, Christ's blood only covered the nation of Israel. And we hear specifically here that these men were redeemed out of every nation, so Israel was scattered in every nation, as we read this in the book of Acts chapter 2, at Pentecost, when they came from all these different nations all around the world, where Israel was scattered. So it isn't that this is talking about anyone outside the nation of Israel. These men are from the nation of Israel, which were scattered abroad. Okay? Verse 10 is the last verse. It says, and has made us unto our God kings and priests, says, and we shall reign on the earth. So these 24 elders are talking about them reigning on the earth, showing you they were originally from the earth, who Christ took up the first fruits. Okay? And they're gonna, when Christ come back, they're gonna come back with him, and they're gonna reign on the earth, and they're gonna be, as they say, kings and priests, just like Yahweh Shai is. He is a king and a priest in the order of Melchizedek. That's how he's operating now. As I am speaking, Yahweh Shai is operating in the order of Melchizedek. From there, I want to come back. So now we see clearly the order of events of the resurrection is that Mary Magdalene, is that the angel comes and rolls the stone away first. Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb early in the morning, like around 3 a.m., between 3 and 6 a.m. She goes there by herself, sees the tomb open, tells Peter, tells John. They go to the tomb. They see it. They go home. She goes back. She meets Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai tells her, don't touch me. I ain't went to my Father yet. Okay? Clearly we see that. The next part of the chronology of the resurrection is in Matthew chapter 28, starting at verse 1. And it reads, it says, in the end of the Shabbat, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, so now it's coming toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. So now Mary Magdalene goes and she tells this other Mary don't believe Mary Magdalene or what she said. She want to see for herself. Both of them come now to the tomb, okay? And we know what happened in verse 2 down to verse 4 with the angel descending. Jumping down to verse 5. It says, and the angel answered and said unto the women, fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Yahweh Shai, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he saideth. Which he said, you can find us in Matthew 20:19, Mark 9:31, Mark 10:34, Luke 18:33, Luke 24:7, Luke 24:46. He tells them about him dying for 3 days. Okay? Again, he is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Yahweh Shai met them, saying, all hail. And they came and held him by the foot. We see clearly when we read in St. John's, Yahweh Shai told Mary Magdalene, don't touch me. She couldn't touch him in St. John's chapter 20. Here we read that two women is here now come to the sepulchre. Here they can touch him because he went and took the first fruits up and came back down. This is what he did. Okay, so he's going to come. So he goes up, take the first fruits, comes back down, and then this is how the women are not able to touch him because he has now fulfilled his priestly duties in the order of Melchizedek by presenting the first fruits according to the Torah. You can read it in Leviticus chapter 23, I think it's verse 9 and 10. It talks about that you presenting, it's called in Hebrew the ha-bikurim, the first fruits, first fruit offering. Okay, the first day of the day after the marrow after the Sabbath, it says in Leviticus, the marrow after the Sabbath, you must present a wave sheaf offering. It says the ha-bikurim. So he does that. He comes back down, and this is why in verse 9 they are able to hold him by the feet to touch him. Right. So verse 9 again. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Yahweh Shai met them, saying, all hail. And they came and held him by the feet and worship him. Okay, paying him homage. It is not worship him. Okay, because we talk about worshiping somebody in the truest form, we're talking about bringing them animal sacrifices. Okay, nobody brought Yahweh Shai animal sacrifices. Okay, no one ever did that. So if anyone is saying that they worship him, doesn't make any sense. you would have to show where someone brought him animal sacrifices. Okay, so this is talking about paying him homage, and there's two Greek words here for worship. One is for paying homage, and another one's clearly for a deity who is being worshipped. Okay, verse 10, then said Yahushua unto them, be not afraid, go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me. Okay, so now he tells them that they go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I'm giving you the chronology, the order of the chronology of the resurrection. So that's two. So we got Mark giving you Mary Magdalene coming by herself. Here in Matthew 28, she brings the other Mary, because of course she wouldn't believe, just like Peter and John didn't believe. They ran themselves to go look and see, because they didn't believe that he was risen, he was up. They saw for themselves. So the other Mary didn't believe. She comes, and now she sees for herself. Now from there, Luke and Mark basically give you the same event. So there is three events of them coming to the sepulcher. I want to go to the book of Luke first and give you Luke's account. And while I'm here, because I actually forgot to address something when I was bringing out the 3 days and 3 nights. Okay? As a matter of fact, let me quickly address it here while I remember. In the 3 days and 3 nights that I was bringing out, there's a scripture here in the book of Luke that some can read, and it might sound like Yahushua died on a Thursday. So I want to clear it up real quick. Okay? Luke chapter 24, real quick. And I want to read verse 24 real quick. Sorry, Luke 24, I want to read verse 19. Excuse me. Luke 24, verse 19. And he said unto them, this is Yahushua speaking. He says, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Yahushua of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty indeed, and word before Yahweh and all the people. And now the chief priests and our elders delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the 3rd day since these things were done. So when you read this, it sounds like that the first day of the week is the 3rd day, because it says that besides all this, today is the 3rd day since these things were done. So it kind of sounds like it's talking about Sunday is actually the 3rd day, when it is not. The difference is this word since. Since is this Greek word apo. You can look this up. And apo, talking about, it means separated from or away from. So, and besides this, today is the 3rd day separated from or away from, which in other words, what it's saying to you is that there are 3 days separating us from the events of the crucifixion. This is what it is saying here in the Greek. And besides all this, today is the 3rd day separating us or away from these things, or when these things were done, showing you that the first day of the week is actually the 4th day. The 4th day would separate, meaning that the 3 days before it, this day separates 3 days. So there's 3 days before this day, showing you that this is what this Greek word apo is saying. They mistranslated and say since, which if you really get technical with it, since is kind of give you the same understanding, but the Greek definition here, apo, when you look into it, is letting you know that it's separated from or away from. As I brought out the events in hours and the events where the woman bought spices, it can only be Wednesday that he had died. It couldn't be Thursday. So this thing cannot be saying that Sunday, the first day of the week, is the 3rd day, because it would throw off everything else in the whole scriptures, and you couldn't reconcile any of it. It wouldn't make any sense. So this Greek word apo have to be talking about separated from or away from 3 days, making that the 4th day. And everything harmonized and everything fit. Coming back to where I was now, to the chronology, I'm almost finished here with this last part of this teaching here. Luke chapter 24, verse 1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared. So now Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they go and tell the other women, and now they're now coming bringing the spices which they had bought. Now they're bringing the spices which they have bought. Now the other women who's bringing the spices, they don't believe what Mary Magdalene and other Mary don't told them. Just like Peter didn't believe, John didn't believe, and when Mary Magdalene told the other Mary she didn't believe, she came with Mary and saw for herself. Those two go back and tell the other women they don't believe, so they come with the spices with the spices because they don't believe. So here we come here, them talking about them reading the spices. What's consistent is that we don't read about no spices in St. John chapter 20 when Mary came by herself. We don't read about no spices in Matthew account when she came with the other Mary. So that's two different events because no spices is even mentioned anywhere. In the book of Luke 24 and in Mark 16, both places mention the women bringing the spices because he's talking about the exact same event. Okay? So again, and upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, this is when the sun is coming up, they came unto the sepulchre bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain other women with them. So there was many women coming out. It wasn't just two of them. Many of them, these other women are the other women who don't believe. So they bring in the spices with them. Verse 2 says, and they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. And they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Yahushua. And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout, behold, two men, which is the Greek word aner, stood by them in shining garments. Verse 5, and as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, why seek ye the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day rise again. And they remembered his words, and returned from the sepulchre, and told all these things unto the 11, and to all the rest. Okay? And it was Mary Magdalene, and Joanna, and Mary the mother of James, and other women that were with them, which told these things unto the apostles. Okay? And their words seemed unto them as idle tales, and they believed them not. So they was telling the other disciples this stuff now, because Mary Magdalene only told Peter and John, and that was it. And then the other woman, and then she went and told the other Mary, and they was going to go tell the other man, but they told the other woman first, who they came with the spices, because they didn't believe, and then they was told again to go tell the disciples, excuse me, because they are not telling the disciples. They're constantly going to get other women and coming back to the tomb. They're not telling the other disciples other things. So when they come back, the angel tell them again, go tell the disciples. Christ meet them, look, go tell my disciples. You guys are not doing that. You guys are coming to the tomb and going back and bringing more women. Go tell the disciples. Y'all ain't doing that. So this third time here, when all of them came with the spices, again, the angel told them again, go tell the disciples. They finally went and they told them. Okay? From there, the last one I want to get is in the book of Mark, the chronology here. Mark is very tricky. All these things are giving you supplementary information. You can put it together and you can get the chronology of the resurrection. This is the last place I want to go, and this will be the end of it. Mark chapter 16, starting at verse 1. It says, and when the Shabbat was past, meaning was gone by, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Salome, had bought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre, specifically at the rising of the sun. Okay, so they come in right at 6 a.m. at the rising of the sun. When Mary Magdalene first went, it was probably around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And she goes and she tells the other Mary, they come back, and then they go tell the other women, and now they're coming when? At the rising of the sun. So we have a 2 or 3 hour gap in there for all these events to have taken place exactly as it is saying, and now they're all coming to the tomb at the rising of the sun, as it says here. It says, and they said among themselves, who shall roll away the stone from the door of the sepulchre? Roll away the stone. Roll us away the stone from the door of the sepulchre. This is the other women who ain't never came to the tomb yet, that is just now coming with the spices. Again, you don't read about no spices in John's account or in Matthew's account, only in Luke and in Mark. So it's the other women bringing the spices who are saying this, who's going to roll the stone away for us, not Mary Magdalene or the other Mary, because they already came already and seen it rolled away. Continuing, verse 4, and when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away. We read about this in Luke just now, Luke 24, verse 2. For it was very great. And entering into the sepulchre, they saw a young man standing on the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were affrighted. And he saith unto them, be not afraid, ye seek Yahushua of Nazareth, which was crucified. He is risen. He is not here. Behold, the place where they laid him. But go your way, tell his disciples, and Peter, that he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him, as he said unto you. Excuse me. So it's the same event we read about in the book of Luke. Just a little bit of additional information has been given, specifically when it says they came at the rising of the sun, pinpointing when all these women came to the tomb, the third time of them coming, the third event of the events of them coming to the sepulchre. And the last verse here, verse 8, and they went out quickly and fled from the sepulchre, for they trembled and were amazed. It says, neither said they anything to any. The word man is in there in the text, is in italics. So neither said they anything to any, for they were afraid. So they was afraid when the angel told them this and when and they saw the stone rolled away and he was gone and these different things. They was afraid. They didn't say anything to any man immediately. But we know according to Luke, eventually they went, finally, and told the apostles. They told the disciples and the others. But again, it says there that they didn't even believe what they were saying. Okay? They didn't actually really believe until Christ actually met them when it was in the room and he appeared in the midst of them. That's when, that's when they actually believed, when he appeared in front of them. But prior to that, they didn't believe when the women was telling them these events, and they are recorded. And there you have it, the chronology of the resurrection of Hamashiach Yahushai. So that's 3 days. So that's when does a day begin? A 24-hour period. That's 3 days and 3 nights in full, and that's chronology of the resurrection, all three in one. And with that, Sal, we can go to the phone lines. Hello, Sal, you there? Look like Sal is not, or he's not responding. So while Sal is getting ready, whenever you're ready, Sal, you can let me know. If not, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to talk until you're ready.
Stand by. Yeah, stand by. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be with you. But we do have some people standing by. Give me 1 minute.
Okay. While I'm waiting for the 1 minute, I'm going to keep talking real quick. So, Yahushua, according to the book of Daniel, he talks about him to anoint the most holy there in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, to anoint the most holy in these different things. So, Christ's blood have to have anoint the most holy. What is the most holy? It is the Ark of the Covenant. That's clearly detailed there in the book of Daniel that would have to happen. You know, so I'm not really want to speak into it because I can establish the first part of what it says in Daniel has to happen. It's just the other part of the historical events that proves his blood landing on the Ark of the Covenant. That is the part I don't actually have yet, but I know that actually happened, and that's the reason why you have these certain earthquakes. Because I believe, I don't have proof yet. I will tell you what I believe. I don't have proof yet. So, I'm just giving you what I understand it to be. That when he was on the cross, that the earthquake opened up a crack in the ground underneath him, and when the centurion cut his side open, the blood came out and dripped down into that crack, and underneath there was the Ark of the Covenant. Because when you go back and you read in the siege of Jerusalem, Nebuchadnezzar looted the temple, but he never took the Ark.
Yeah, I'm back. You can complete your thought, though. Go ahead. Yeah, Ahmayan, if you want to complete your, what you was about to say, you can do that. And then we're going to go to the phone lines. Again, that number is 319-527-6239. See, we got two people pressing on one. However, we got more people listening to the show. So if you have any questions or any comments, this is your time. This is what the show is all about. We invite certain teachers to come on the platform for you to take down your notes and for you to challenge the information. The number is 319-527-6239. All right, so whenever you're ready, you can let me know.
Yeah, go ahead, Sal. I'll leave it right there. I'll leave it there. So you go ahead to the callers.
All right, we're going to the phone lines. And for the new callers out there, got to keep it clean, keep it professional once you call into the show. All right, let's go to 865-300. You're live in there.
Hey, shalom, Ahmayan. This is Brother Israel. Shalom, Sal.
Hey, shalom, brother.
Hey, shalom.
Hey, I thought that was a really good lesson, man. I want to give you this scripture, though. I saw this one day reading in the Gospels. And so if you go with me to Luke chapter 22, all right? Because, I've dealt with people that say that the day or the Sabbath day is only the daylight period of the day. But I agree with you. A full day is 12 hours night, 12 hours of day, the day starting at nightfall. So when we go to Luke chapter 22 and verse 1, it says, "Now the feast of the unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover." So you brought it out earlier in the lesson when you said that the children of Israel, they actually ate the Passover at night. And so we see that this process is continuing. When we jump down to verse 33, check out what Yeshua says. We're going to read 33 and 34. "And he said unto him, Lord, I am ready to go with thee both into prison and to death." So this is Peter, okay, talking to Yeshua. And this is what Yeshua said, verse 34. "And he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not day before thou shalt deny that thou knowest me." So we clearly know that they were eating the Passover at sundown, and when everything was conspiring, it was at night. And so Yeshua is equating or equivocating the day with this night period that they are in right now. So I just wanted to share that with you. I didn't hear you go over it, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, thank you, brother. Definitely, man. That's on point right there. So again, see, the brother's bringing out the information that, again, the day begins at night. Clearly, this is speaking of when they was having a meal. It isn't they're having a meal right before the Passover had begun. This is on the 14th here. He's referencing here that they're having this meal here at night here. So that's clearly, and it's very significant about that particular meal that they had, because when you read it in the four Gospels, they didn't eat any lamb at all. But what's significant about that particular meal is that Yahweh Shai tells his disciples that he's not going to drink of the fruit of the vine until he drinks it new with them in his Father's kingdom. And the reason why Yahweh Shai is saying this, I want to read it.
And brother, after you read that, I want to ask you a question. Well, I give you the question now. Then after you say that, you can go into it. Then I'll yield. I just want you to break down a little bit more between Yeshua saying, "Don't touch me" to Mary, and then he said you said the people touched him. I was understanding he didn't go into heaven until Acts chapter 1. So I just want you to break that down a little bit for me, because I didn't catch the full thought.
Okay, I got you, brother. No problem. Okay, let me get Matthew Matthew chapter 26, and I want to read verse 27. It says, "And he took the cup and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it." Now, when you go up into Hebrew tradition, when you talk about giving someone a cup to drink, this was done in Hebrew tradition when the man would pour a cup of wine and would give it to a woman, offer it to the woman. Now, if the woman took the cup and drank it, she was agreeing to a marriage, a covenant with the man. If she didn't drink it, didn't take it, then she is denying to have any kind of relationship with this man. So this thing here about them drinking the wine is significant because it's showing you that he is going into covenant with his disciples by them drinking this wine. He's telling you to drink all of it. Okay, he says, "For this is my blood in the renewed testament, which is shed for many for the remissions of sin. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." So he's not drinking any wine, and it's specific reason why he's not drinking the wine, and it's going to lead off into the brothers answering the brother's question in the book of Leviticus chapter 10, verse 8 and 9. I'm going to get the book of Leviticus chapter 10. I want to read verse 8 and verse 9.
Yeah, Ahmayan, by the way, he's still on the phone line in case you want to interact with him. He's still here.
Okay, thank you, Sal. Leviticus chapter 10, verse 8 and 9. Verse 8 says, "And Yahweh spake unto Aaron, saying, Do not drink wine, nor strong drink, thou, nor thy sons, with when ye go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations." So they were commanded by the Most High, the priests were, they couldn't drink wine when they go into the temple. This is why Christ is telling his disciples, "I will not drink up the fruit of the vine until I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." Because why? He's getting ready to die. He's going to resurrect in the order of Melchizedek, and he has to now go up to the temple and in the temple in the heavens and present the first fruit offering. Why he's telling Mary Magdalene, "Don't touch me." Okay, this is all going off him fulfilling what it says in the Torah pertaining to the temple service of a priest. So he's fulfilling the order by not drinking wine, of course we read it here in the book of Leviticus. Okay? Now let me go back. Now, when Mary Magdalene came to Christ in St. John chapter 20, and Christ tell her not to touch me, there's a reason why he told her not to touch me, because he says, "I have not ascended to my Father yet," was his words to her. "I have not went to my Father yet," showing you that what he's saying is that he has to ascend up to where the Father is in heaven. The Most High is in the Holy Tabernacle, the temple in heaven. He has to first go there. And the reason why he has to first do that, because he's fulfilling what is written in the Torah. I want to read it in Leviticus. I just quoted it. Now I want to go ahead and read it. Leviticus chapter 23. One second, let me get it. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I would say, what part were you showing that women did touch him?
You want to see you want to see that part?
Yeah. That's what I wanted you to reconcile. Why were they able to touch him? And when was this time period that he went into the heaven to go? Because I thought he was going into heaven by the cloud in Acts 1. And so it was just to why Mary couldn't touch him, but other women could touch him if he wasn't supposed to be touched at all.
Okay.
By women.
All right. Let me go. Okay, St. John. Let me start. St. John chapter 20 and verse 1. Let me get the chronology of the time down for you. St. John 20 and 1 read. Excuse me. It said, "The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark." So again, early is the Greek word prwi, which is pronounced proi. And proi is talking about the daybreak watch, which is the fourth watch of the night, which is from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So around 3 a.m. is when Mary Magdalene actually was coming to the tomb, because it specifically states that it was yet dark. Okay, and that Greek word letting you know that it was the fourth watch, which was from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. This is when they came. So this event here, when Christ tell her not to touch me, it was around probably maybe 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning. He tells her not to touch me here. I want to read it in the 17th verse. It says, Yahweh said unto her, "Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. So Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things unto her. Right? So she couldn't touch him. None of them couldn't touch him. Now I'm going to read where the women actually touched him. But like I said, this is around the early in the morning, around 3:30, 4 a.m. Because when Mary came, she saw the tomb open. She went and told Peter and James, and they ran to the tomb and saw that it was also open and he was gone. And then they went home. And then she goes back to the sepulcher. So all this probably took place, let's say, in about an hour. Say it's about 4 a.m. when Christ tells her this, 4 a.m. in the morning, right? And then he tells her, don't touch him, because he tells her, don't touch me because I must ascend to my Father. Now, here in the book of Matthew, chapter 28, I want to get right to the point. They actually touched him. So the women come to the tomb. So here, I'm going to read verse 1. It says, in the end of the Shabbat, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week. So now it's now coming closer to around 6 a.m. It's beginning to dawn. The sunlight is starting to peek out now. Before, when Mary Magdalene came to the tomb, it was completely dark. There was no sunlight even nowhere shining. So we see that there is a gap in between there. When she comes here in Matthew 28 chapter, it says, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulcher. Now jumping down to verse 9, it says, and as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Yahushua met them, saying, all hail, and they came and held him by the feet. So clearly here we see these women here, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, holding him by the feet. But in St. John's 20, he told Mary Magdalene, you couldn't touch me because I ain't went to my Father yet. So obviously he had to ascend to his Father first. And for what reason must he have ascend to his Father? He has to go ahead and present the first fruit offering from the earth. And let me read that. He's fulfilling the Torah, as he says, I've come not to destroy, but to fulfill. He's fulfilling the Torah, the temple service, as is detailed there in the book of Leviticus. I'm going to read it in the book of Leviticus 23. Go ahead, brother. You wanted to say something?
No, I'm just about to look up this word held real quick.
Okay. Leviticus 23. Let me read it right quick. This is what Christ is fulfilling here. I want to start at verse 9. Leviticus 23, verse 9. It says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I gave unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest, and he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Okay, so this is the first fruit, the habikarim. So Christ is going to wave the first fruit offering to the Most High, the morrow after the Shabbat, which is the first day of the week. Now, Paul speaks of this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Let me read it there. Paul talks about the first fruits there in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I want to read it right quick so we can understand what Yahushua was doing. So 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and I want to kind of get right to the point. I want to start at verse 20. So 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 20 reads, but now is Yahushua risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. See, Christ is not considered the first fruits of them that slept. So remember, the men that arose after he arose, these men rose after him. These men are the first fruits after Yahushua. Yahushua is called the first fruits. These men are called first fruits after him. Verse 21, for since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Yahushua, in Hamashiach, shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order. This English word order is the Greek word tagma, and tagma means in their own rank or division. So he's raising up these men in their own rank and division to be placed into the 144,000, which is the man he's going to come with and go to war with when he comes back. So, but every man in his own order. It said Yahweh Shai, the first fruits. It says after that, they which are Christ at his coming. So it had started there when these men arose, these saints arose back then, and he presented them to the Most High as the 24 elders, which I read that these men were saying that Christ redeemed them. These men said Christ redeemed them by their death. So these men originally came from the earth, and they were the first fruits from the earth presented to the Most High. And they also say that we shall reign on the earth as well.
Okay.
So that's what he was doing when he told her not to touch me. He went up there, presented those men, and he came back down. And that's when we read in Matthew that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary could be able to grab him by the feet because he has fulfilled his role as offering the first fruits, the Habikarim, to the Most High in heaven.
So I just got a question for you now. I'm going to go back and study it, but according to what you just said, wouldn't Christ coming back, would that be his second coming?
No, that wouldn't be, not second coming as far as him staying, because when he came back down and he spoke to the disciples, he did not stay. When he comes again, he would stay. See, people phrase his coming permanently as the second advent, which is inaccurate. You know what I'm saying? It isn't a second advent because he left and presented the first fruits and came back down again, and then he went up, then he left again in the book of Acts chapter 1. And according to Acts chapter 1, when he came back down, he stayed for like 40 days and was teaching the apostles teaching the apostles about the preaching of the kingdom. He came down there, he taught them through the Holy Spirit what they're supposed to be preaching. So they was not ready yet to go out and teach the people, gather the people out there until Christ was teaching them for those 40 days. Then he was preparing them more ready, because we can see when Christ died, they was all discombobulated, and some of them lost faith and they couldn't believe, and these different things. They was all like kind of out the spirit. So he had to go finish his work, offering the first fruits, and come back down and be here for like 40 days, and then start teaching them and reaffirming them in the faith and in the teaching. And in Luke actually says that he opened their mind to understand the Old Testament. See, they didn't quite understand it then until he came back down and he opened their mind to the Old Testament. Then they knew it. Then they still wasn't ready yet. They wasn't ready. He told them to stay in Jerusalem till you receive the promise of the Father from the Holy Spirit. Right. So without the Holy Spirit, they wasn't ready to go out. So all those things had to be fulfilled before they was ready to go out and teach the people.
All right. Well, I got one more question. What would you call, or what would you accurately describe as what people call the second advent? How would you word it?
I would actually word that as his last coming.
His last coming. Okay.
His last coming. Because when he comes this time, he's not leaving anymore. He's coming permanently.
Okay.
Because when we read in the book of when we read in the book of I want to read it right quick in the Old Testament. When you read in the book of Micah chapter 5, it talks about him plenty of times. Micah chapter 5, I want to get to the point, verse 2. It says, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, thou be little amongst the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall come he forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel," talking about Christ. It says, "whose goings forth have been from of old." See, he been coming from old time. It says, even from everlasting. So Christ been coming back and forth from the Old Testament time. So it ain't nothing, you know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing new or different. That now when he came into the New Testament, he died, resurrect, go to the heaven, come back down, do this, go back up, and now he must come back one last time. So it's been going on forever.
Interesting. All right, yeah, definitely. We could chop it up a little bit more. I got your number. But all right, man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I enjoyed the lesson. I thought it was really good, and thank you for clearing up some of that stuff that I had questions with. I'm going to go back and, I'm always double-check anybody that brings out some information. So you be blessed, man, and shalom. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, brother, man. Yeah, as you should, bro. Everything I bring out, go back and verify it. And again, you have my number. If you need to, speak to me about something, I'm always open to correction. I'm not stuck on stupid. If I'm wrong about something, you can definitely come and show it to me, and I will definitely correct myself. That's how I operate. You know what I'm saying? Once I'm sure I'm wrong, I will correct myself. Okay, so again,
Amen.
thank you, brother. You're being like the Bereans who are checking everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. Right. Proverbs 6:23. Reproofs of instruction is the way of life. So you got to be able to be reproved.
Con.
Shalom.
Shalom, brother.
All right. We appreciate your call. As always, the number is 319-527-6239. I see we have a few Skype callers out there. If you're on Skype, if you got a question, just press number 1 on Skype, and we'll add you in the conversation. Other than that, if you're using a regular phone, just press number 1. Simply press number 1. That lets me know that you have a question or a comment. Again, for those who caught the middle of the show, today's show is entitled, When Does a Day Begin? 3 Days and 3 Nights, Chronology, Resurrection. Again, we have special guest Ahmayan here. And if you have any questions, this is your time. Or forever hold your peace. Let's go to the next person. Let's go to 716-541. You're live in air.
Thank you, Sal. Great lesson, my brother. Very, very good lesson. I learned a lot today, especially about the first fruits. When I get off the line, if you don't mind re-explaining that again. And I do agree with you because in Daniel's prophecy, he said that he would be cut down in the middle of the week, and Wednesday seems like to be the middle of the week to me. What do you think?
Yes, it is. That is exactly right. Wednesday is the middle of the week.
All right, now, everybody always say that Christ followed the law to the letter. Now, so am I to understand that he broke the Sabbath when he rose on the Sabbath? Did he break the Sabbath when he rose on it?
No. According to the commandment, you can't do no servile work on the Shabbat. No servile work. He rose Saturday around 5 p.m. When he went and he took the first fruits up, it was the first day of the week. It was Sunday morning, like around 5 a.m. So it wasn't the Shabbat anymore when he did that.
Oh, okay. So it was early Sunday.
It was early Sunday morning, like around I would say probably around 4:35, something like that.
We could only say what the scriptures say, right? Did the scriptures say that?
I was reading it. Let me read it again for you. According to the events, St. John chapter 20 verse 1, right? It says that the first day of the week, is Sunday. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay, the first day of the week is Sunday. So the Shabbat has ended. So now we're in the first day of the week. So now we can work now. We can do things because the Shabbat is over. So the first day of the week, coming from Mary Magdalene, it says early. It says early when it was yet dark, showing you that the day begins at night. It's calling it the first day of the week. It's calling it Sunday. But when she came to the tomb, it was still dark. Now, this Greek word early, this English word early is the Greek word pro-e. It's P-R-W-I, and it's pronounced pro-e. Pro-e means the daybreak watch. In the New Testament, there are 4 watches. Each watch is 3 hours. You get 3 times 4, you get 12. That covers the whole night. Okay, so this word is letting us know that she came in the daybreak watch, which is the 4th watch, which is from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. This is when Mary Magdalene came to the tomb, right? According to this Greek word that's here.
Right.
So it's pinpointing us a time frame, and it fits because it says that it was still dark when she came, right?
Well, right, because it was like what we would call 3, 4 in the morning or something like that. It was like that, but it would not be another day until that evening, right? Regardless of how early she got there, right? If she got there early Sunday, the day is not going to change until sundown, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I wanted to say. But no, it was a great lesson, and I didn't know that about the first fruits. And I have one more question. I thought that Christ was the first fruit.
Yeah, he's considered the first of the first fruits unto the Most High. But remember, he's in the order of Melchizedek, so he is a first fruit, but he has to offer the first fruits, fulfilling what it says in the Old Testament in the temple service. So he's there offering the first fruits, and him being the first fruit in order of Melchizedek is there presenting himself to the Most High too as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's why I read. That's why I went. Yeah, I went and I read about the 24 elders. Who we didn't read about the 24 elders until we get to Revelation. They were not mentioned any time before. You know.
Okay, that's what I wanted to talk to you about too. So you're saying that when he did all of that, that was in reference for the 12 and 24 elders. That was for the book of Revelation.
Correct. Those men that arose when he arose, those saints, yeah, those men are the 24 elders.
Okay.
Those are the first of the first fruits that he took to heaven.
Okay. Oh, all
yeah,
right.
Paul.
Okay.
Paul speaks of this. Let me see. Can I get a scripture for you, sister? Paul speaks of this in the book of Ephesians. Let me try to get that scripture for you. He talks about. He says when Christ went up, he said he led captivity captive. What scripture says that? These men that was actually in the grave, who he freed when he died, that he went up on high and led captivity captive. In the book of I think it's Ephesians or Galatians says this. That when he went up.
Okay, I think I'm familiar with that.
Yeah,
and,
so
I just wanted to say, I don't know if, okay, there's another, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but when in Matthew, I think I want to say 24, where he was talking to the disciples and when he told them that that they would not taste death, people get that confused with the earthquakes and all of that. That was, when that happened, that's when he resurrected. That statement is in regards to that, right? Because people say, okay, well, that was his second coming, or the second coming, when it's not. That was pertaining to the resurrection when you said the bodies came up out of the grave and they had the earthquake, okay? That was for that time, right? Or was that for us?
Where in Matthew?
I think it's in Matthew where it says that that they will not see death until he returned, but they were still living at the time. Was that in regards to his resurrection when all of that happened, when the people came out of the graves and the earthquake, and when he made that statement, that's what he was talking about, the resurrection, not the second coming?
I'm trying to find a scripture that says that in the book of. I want to read it in context, so I don't want to misquote it.
I want to say Matthew, where he told 24. It talks about the tribulation and all that. I don't have my book. I think it's in there when he told them that they will not see death, but that was in regards to the resurrection. Because people will be saying, oh, well, the people were still living when he said that, but that was pertaining to the resurrection, not the second coming.
Yeah, I mean, when he made that particular statement, if I remember it correctly, is speaking of the spiritual death. There be some here that will not see death until they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven.
Okay, and then they see him. He went in the clouds. He ascended. So that was in regards to the resurrection. People get that mixed up.
Yeah, that was in regards to him coming back. Yeah, that's
saw him in the clouds.
With the cloud. So there were people there who was going to die a physical death, but it wasn't going to die a spiritual death until they see him coming in the clouds. Because when he comes in the clouds of heaven, he's coming back to rule the earth. And then those people then that had rejected him and didn't believe in him, it speaks of, in Revelations, a white throne judgment, where it speaks of these people. When Christ comes, you're going to have the first resurrection, is the ones who believes in Christ, and then they're going to rule for 1,000 years, and then you have a second resurrection for the other people who had died, and he's speaking of them, that they're not going to have a spiritual death until they see the Son of Man coming, and then there is events that happens with him ruling, and these people are particularly speaking of them being in the second resurrection, where they are cast into the lake of fire, and then they're going to experience a spiritual death. He's not speaking of them dying a physical death, because that wouldn't make any sense. He's been gone now going on 2,000 years. So the people, they have died a physical death, but they have not died a spiritual death until they go into the lake of fire. So they're waiting on a spiritual judgment from the Most High in the white throne judgment.
Oh, okay. Well, so I was under the impression that there are 3 judgments, and I'm glad you said that, because you're saying like for the 1,000 years that's going to be one, and then the other 2 is simultaneous.
Yeah, you have. Paul says that it's appointed unto man once to die, but after this the judgment. So when you die, you go and get judged for everything you have done while you were alive, whatever the Most High judgment is.
Well, yeah, the Bible Scriptures speak of 3 though. It speaks of the judgment seat of Christ, which will be in the air. That's in Thessalonians. There's another one in Matthew where it's regarding the multitude, and then the third is the great white throne judgment. So there are 3 resurrections. 3. There are going to be 3 judgments according to Scripture. But great lesson, my brother. I learned a lot listening to you today. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
You're welcome, sister.
All right, family. Once again, it's Debate Talk Free Radio. We know that number, 319-527-6239. Again, today's show is entitled, When Does a Day Begin? 3 Days and 3 Nights, Chronology, Resurrection. My special guest is Ahmayan. You have any questions or comments? You got to dial that number and press number 1, and we'll add you to the conversation. As a matter of fact, for those who don't know, in the description box, I left his Facebook page, his YouTube page. If you want to reach out to him in any way, shape, or form, or see more of his videos, more of his content, check out the description box on YouTube. Check out the description box on Blog Talk Radio, and of course on iTunes in the podcast section. All right, I see people listening to the show, but nobody's pressing number 1 at this time. Ahmayan, you want to bring out some more information? What do you want to do?
Yeah, quickly. I want to continue what I was speaking of before I took the first call. Briefly, I was speaking of, according to the book of Daniel, it talks about to anoint the most holy in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 24. Now, the most holy is the Ark of the Covenant. That is the most holy thing. So Christ's blood have to have touched this Ark of the Covenant to make an atonement. As when he died, it says that the veil of the temple was ripped in twain. It's speaking of an atonement being made, and the high priest would go in there on the Day of Atonement, and he would sprinkle blood, it says, I think, on the left side, if I'm mistaken what it says in Leviticus, sprinkle blood on the left side, and he's talking about making an atonement for the nation of Israel. So if Christ is making an atonement for the nation of Israel, if he's doing that, then his blood have to also fall somewhere on that ark. I was going back to the book of, to the destruction of the temple under Nebuchadnezzar. When you read the story there, Nebuchadnezzar loosed the temple, but he don't never takes the Ark of the Covenant. He goes in there, and there's no Ark of the Covenant at all. And he had surrounded Jerusalem, so no one couldn't have exit Jerusalem on ground with the Ark of the Covenant. Yet you don't read him taking it. When you read in the book of Jeremiah, it details everything that he had looted out of the temple, all of the pans and everything else, and take all of that to Babylon. And we read about Cyrus giving that stuff to Ezra to bring back. But there in Jeremiah, you don't see anything about the Ark of the Covenant. And we can read in Josephus, he tells us that the holies of holies, the Ark of the Covenant, was not in there. So what has happened is that there had to be some kind of underground cave system under the Temple of Solomon, that they took the Ark of the Covenant underground and hid it underground somewhere. It is the only logical conclusion that you can come to. It was hid somewhere, and there are historical records and stuff that speaks on. I think the Apocrypha speaks on how Jeremiah the prophet led some priests, and they hid the Ark of the Covenant somewhere underground. So what I'm contesting is the part I'm trying to find the information on, is that the Ark of the Covenant was hid somewhere underground, somewhere in Jerusalem, and it's like right over where Christ had died, because it talks about when he died there was an earthquake. It says that the rock rent. The rocks cracked open. It was supposed to be, I guess, a crack in the ground, and when the centurion cut his side open and blood of water came out, some of that blood fell through the crack and dripped on and landed onto the Ark of the Covenant, which was right underneath where Yahweh Shai was. Again, I don't have proof. I'm just saying that from me reading from Daniel's, that it says there they must anoint the most holy. From me reading what it says in the siege of Jerusalem, they didn't find the Ark of the Covenant, and Jeremiah says in the Apocrypha how that they had hid it on the ground, and knowing through the temple service that his blood must anoint this ark, obviously on the ground had to have been somewhere where Yahweh had died, and the earthquake cracked open. The centurion cut him inside. The blood drips down, anoints the Ark of the Covenant. He dies. He's dead. The veil of the temple is ripped in twain because atonement has been made. And when he resurrects, the scripture says again that there was an earthquake again, which actually sealed the crack up. There's two earthquakes, one when he died and one when he resurrected. One opened the ground, another one closed it. Those are two earthquakes there that's recorded. That's what I believe happened. Like I said, I don't have no physical proof, but I'm searching for it. And once I find it, I will bring that part of it out because I believe that is exactly what actually happened. His blood hit the Ark of the Covenant that was right underneath him on the ground. That's what I see here in the scriptures when I'm reading it. That makes sense to me. It's just that we don't have all the information yet, but I'm sure the Most High is going to reveal all of that sooner or later. But that's what I think actually happened with Yahweh Shai blood anointing the covenant, anointing the Ark of the Covenant. As it stated in Daniel, he shall anoint the most holy and make an atonement for the children of Israel. But that is ready to be seen. Again, if anyone have any information on that, about that information, about his blood hitting the Ark of the Covenant on the ground, under where he was, I would love to hear it, you know what I'm saying, because that's what I see in the scriptures there actually happening. So I think that's about it. If there ain't no more questions, then I guess I have to go to the final statement or something.
All right, family. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio. I see we do have somebody press number 1. I'm going to go to you real soon. But again, like I said, I have all the information in the description box for those who want to reach out to Ahmayan. I have his Facebook page. I have his YouTube page. You can check him out. But again, this is your time, family. You have any questions, any comments, dial that number, 319-527-6239. Then you press number 1. That lets me know that you have a question. I'll leave you hear it live. By the way, the show is archived, family. So if you missed any part of the show or you want to hear yourself again, let's go to the archives, go check it out. So check out the YouTube page and, play back the show. So let's go to I think it's a Skype caller. You're live on air. Go ahead.
Shalom, Mark. Shalom, Sal. How y'all doing?
Yo, what's going on?
Shalom, brother.
I'm all right. This is Anonymous Hebrew. Just real quick, first off, great lesson, bro. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
And some stuff I knew, some stuff I didn't. So that's just how the Most High work. And also it was relevant because some Jehovah's Witness came to the door today, and this was the basis of the conversation. And they took off running. All of a sudden they had an appointment. So it was just funny. It's just confirmation. It's confirmation with the Holy Spirit. Just real quick, you had spoke briefly about Yahweh Shai or Jesus, whatever we're going to call him, not being, the Most High, right? So this is something that we really digging into in my household. And so normally I reach out to you in private, but brother, I'm going to be honest with you, like I got a tax preparation business. I'm going to be booked for like the next 4 weeks, so there ain't no way I can really get to you in private. So, I mean, I know like we got short time and I don't want you going to no deep lesson or nothing, but if you could just clarify a little bit, like, so are we saying something maybe like the Most High would be like El Elyon, and then Yahweh Shai would be like Yahuwah, or, I mean, how are you presenting that? Am I making sense?
I want to understand, do you believe that Yahshua, Jesus, is the Most High? Is that
no
understanding of it?
No.
Okay.
I don't personally, because I see them interacting, especially in Revelation. We see them interacting with each other. So they're just asking just a little more clarification in terms of verses and things that I can really help to direct, my family, friends, in terms of our growth in that area.
Oh, as far as showing that he's not the Most High, you saying?
Yes. Right. Correct.
Okay. Correct. No problem. All right. The first place I want to go. Okay, brother. Thanks for the question, brother.
No problem. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your work.
First place I want to go to is the book of St. John, chapter 20. You can show them this right here. St. John chapter 20, verse 17. It says, in English, it says, Jesus said unto her, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. So clearly here he's showing you that he has a God. Okay, so he can't be God if he has a God, because God don't have a God. You know what I'm saying?
Right. My apologies, Dan. Let me clarify the questioning. Is there anything we can get in the Tanakh? Like, you know what I'm saying, just, you know, throughout what we call the Old Testament, I guess. Is there various, you know, any scriptures? Because I was showing them like Deuteronomy 32 today, when it's talking about how it says the Most High, but that word is Elion, separated or divided the nations, and he did it according to the number of Israel, and then it goes to the next verse and it says Israel is it says Yahuwah's portion, or Israel is Yahuwah's portion to. I'm butchering it, so I guess I should just pull it up so I don't mess up. But I want to give them more proof, especially in the Tanakh, because even like you said, we see him making several visitations throughout Scripture. So is there more guidance that I can have in terms of showing my family just through the Tanakh? I have it. Let me see. Sorry, brother.
Definitely. Definitely, there is actually a few in the Tanakh that you can definitely use.
Okay.
Show them this. Okay. Actually, when I started, I was speaking on Genesis chapter 1, how that it was not actually translated out the original Hebrew correctly, and anybody can go and check what I'm about to say from the Hebrew scriptures. I'm gonna start there. In the original Hebrew,
I came in late, so I'm not trying to make you repeat your lesson. So if it was already repeated, I can go back and listen later. If it was already stated, I can
I didn't actually speak on it. I didn't actually break it down.
Okay.
I spoke on it. Yeah, so I'm gonna do it now to help answer your question. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, what it says in the actual Hebrew. The first thing it says is Bereshith, and ba means in or with. It can mean with as well. So sheath or rashith is speaking of head. So it's in the head or with the head. Bereshith, bara, which is bara, which means create, means he created. So it's in the head or with the head. Bara, he created. Talking about the Most High created. It says Elohim. So the Most High with his head created bara, Elohim, created God, Elohim, and it says Aleph and Tav. So the Elohim there, after they says Aleph and Tav, the Elohim is who? Aleph and Tav. Aleph and Tav, again, is the Word. That lines up with St. John's 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Right? So it says Bereshith, again, in the beginning, or in the head, bara, created, Elohim, God, Aleph and Tav, Shemayim, the heavens, Wa and Eretz, it says the earth, Aleph and Tav. So even in the Hebrew, St. John's 1:1, it letting you know that the Most High in his head created a God, and this God is particularly called Aleph and Tav, which is the Word. That's the whole Hebrew language. He uses that to create the whole thing, which lines up again there with St. John's 1:1. That's the Hebrew. So any one of them that's contesting it, if they look at it in the Hebrew verbatim, it tells you that Elohim was created. Versus in the English where it says in the beginning God created heavens and the earth, it doesn't say that in the original Hebrew. It says in the original Hebrew is that Elohim was created, showing you that this Elohim right here is not the Most High. So you can show them that in the Hebrew for those that want a Hebrew understanding. You can jump down. For those that stay in the English, you can come down to chapter 26, where it says, and Elohim said, let us make man. So here we see that there is another being here that have enough power, knowledge, wisdom, understanding that he's able to assist the Most High in creating mankind. So this person here is not originally a human being. He's above all mankind. He's able to assist the Most High in the creation of human being because he says, let us make man. Okay? So you ask them, they don't know who this person, who this being is here that have the ability to assist the Most High in the creation of mankind because he's telling them, let us make man, right? So we know that this is how much Yahweh Shai through how Paul and them tell us that he was there in the beginning and all things was created, saying by him and through him, so on and so forth. So Tanakh let us know that there's two up there in the 26th verse, and he's not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You can go ahead and show them that. I don't think they can.
That helps because so then it lines up when I show them like Deuteronomy 32:8 and 9 when it talks about when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance. When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. And then when we get to 9, it says for the Lord, and that word Lord's portion is obviously Yahweh or Yahuwah, whatever we're going to say. But when we deal with, when it says when the Most High in verse 8, that's Elyon. So am I understanding correctly when we're talking about the Most High separating things and then the Lord's or Yahuwah's portion being, well, Jacob is a lot of his inheritance. That's what it specifically says in Deuteronomy 32:9.
Con. Right.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
You're welcome, brother. Psalms 110 is another good one, brother. Psalms 110 is another good one. My Lord sit unto my Lord, sit on my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. So some Tanakh people try to say that this is David, but it doesn't fit David because David was warring. This person here in Psalms 110 is told to sit down until I make your enemies your footstool. Right? So this person here isn't doing anything. And he's sitting on the right hand side of the Most High. You can use that. You can also use Daniel's chapter 7, where he's called the Son of Man, which there's which has a definite article in there in Daniel's, and what is spoken of this man here in the book of Daniel's, that he has an everlasting kingdom that should not pass away. This does not fit David. Okay, I'm going to get it real quick. Daniel's chapter 7, it says, and I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. So this only fits one person, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, the Son of Man. He's the only one that has this title attached to him as the Son of Man. When you read it in different places, Ezekiel has just Son of Man. The other places, when you read in the Hebrew, don't have a definite article the there. It just has Son of Man, but in English they put the the there, but in the Hebrew the definite article the is not there. It's there a couple of times in Psalms. When you read it, it means the son of Enos. Only here in the book of Daniel, the definite article the Son of Man is there, and we know to the New Testament, Christ is called that all the time.
Right. So thank you so much, brother. I don't want to take up nobody else's time. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to call you, and I just wanted to get that answered. I wasn't going to be able to contact you for the next few weeks. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. Great lesson. And, just keep letting the Most High use us all. So shalom, Sal. Good job. You know what I'm saying? I'm out. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Stacks time. Get money, brother.
I'm trying, bro.
You play that Biggie joint. Get money. You know what I'm saying? All right, man. I'm going to talk to my brother. Appreciate you, man. All right, once again, that number is 319-527-6239. Again, anybody have any questions or comments, you know that number by now. Simply press number 1 and we'll add you to the conversation. Nobody else press number 1 at this time, Ahmayan, so you can pretty much give some final words.
Okay. I want to go ahead and give all praises, all thanks to the Most High God, Yahweh, for his knowledge, his wisdom, understanding, his patience with me, revealing certain things to me that I can bring to the people out there that's listening. His first begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, for dying for the nation of Israel, even though some don't believe, but they will understand later what he did for all the nation of Israel, and is he continuing to atone for our sins as our high priest in the order of Melchizedek in the heavens. Thank the brother Sal having back on the show again, doing another lesson, bringing out the information to the people, and answering their questions. Um, Hopefully, to my Tanakh brothers, you guys are listening. Clearly, if I said anything that's wrong, I'm always open to correction. This is not nothing that I want to fight against my Tanakh brothers. That we just got to be honest with the situation and just be real, and understand what is the truth. And if it's the truth, it's the truth. And don't fight up against the truth. And if that's what it says, that's what it says. If we can just come to the table and just deal with it logically and not have any preconceived notion that you not want to listen to a brother when he's bringing out something that's making complete sense. You immediately want to go and attack what he's saying without even listening to what he's saying and see if he's making sense, if he's actually speaking according to the Tanakh. So again, it isn't about trying to attack. It's about bringing out the information. And for those who it's for, I guess it's going to get, and for those who it ain't, I guess it is not. To all Israel out there, I want to say to all Israel out there, me personally, I got love for all the nation of Israel out there. Messianics, Tanakh only. I got love. For me, it's about edifying the whole nation. We're all here in captivity. We all know this. We all know it brought us in captivity. And at some point, we need to try the best to come together as much as we can through the Spirit. Me, myself, I operate in the fruits of the Spirit, as we are told to in the book of Galatians chapter 5, and that's how we have to continue to operate and keep our zeal and continue to study always in these scriptures. Research everything, do your background check, your manuscripts, your Hebrew, your Greek, your Aramaic, whatever it is. You go back into the language in the background and get the truth of what was left to us, because what we have is copies of copies of copies of copies of copies. So we don't have the original. So we have to let the Spirit guide us and try to get us back into the original by eliminating the mistakes that's in the Tanakh. Because there are mistakes in the Tanakh. I can point them out, and there are definitely some in the New Testament as well. And all these things need to be reconciled. So if we can all understand these things, that we don't have an original document, original copy of what it was back then. We have copies of copies by men, and men have made mistakes. And even the Masoretes, not the Masoretes, the Sahifrim, with the Masoretic text, even said that they actually took the Most High name out. That's why we see Lord there. They took his name out and put Adonai. So they was actually tampering with the text. They actually changed text, left scriptures out, and altered different things. And they admit these things. So we clearly have mistampered with the Tanakh. And we clearly see we have the same thing going on in the New Testament when we read Acts chapter 12, where it speaks of Easter. We know that Israelites don't celebrate Easter. So that's been placed in there, tampering with the text. Originally, we know it says Passover. So we can understand these things that happen. We should be able to come together as brothers and try to seek the truth. And whoever has the understanding on a particular understanding that something has been changed or tampered with, we can learn from that brother and piece it all together and then come back to the truth of what it is and find out originally what was left to us, first of all, by the Most High to Moses and the prophets, and to his son when he came and left the information to his apostles, to his Holy Spirit, down onto us to this day. And with that, I want to say I love all the nation of Israel. Thank you again, Sal, for having me back on the show. And peace and love to all the nation of Israel.